The Romans once banned volunteer fire departments as dangerous to the state, but they were totally fine with people worshipping Egyptian crocodile gods. Why? Because ancient religion worked completely differently than we assume. Alexander the Great told everyone Apollo appeared as a snake and got his mom pregnant, and people just accepted this. Understanding why explains everything about Judaism's collision with Rome. In the ancient world, adding a god to your collection was like adding a friend on social media, the more the better. This practice has a name, syncretism. From the Greek synkresis, meaning mixing together. Here's how it worked. When Greeks encountered foreign gods, they didn't reject them. They identified them. Isis becomes Artemis. Amun-Ra becomes Zeus. Yahweh becomes Zeus. It wasn't conversion, it was translation. This wasn't cynical politics. People genuinely believed all civilizations worship the same divine forces under different names. Alexander the Great shows us syncretism as genuine worldview, not propaganda. His claim of divine parentage, Apollo appearing as a snake to impregnate his mother Olympias, wasn't Greek tradition at all. It was Eastern. Greek kings were mortal men favored by gods. Eastern kings were gods incarnate. Alexander merged both traditions. He adopted foreign religious practices to unify his empire, and here's the key insight. He probably believed it himself. When you think all gods are the same gods, claiming divine descent from any of them makes perfect sense. Rome conquered the Greek East, but adopted Greek religious culture wholesale. They didn't require Latin, they learned Greek. Greek language, culture, religion, and syncretism continued unbroken through Constantine. This timeline matters. After Rome destroyed Corinth in 144 BCE and Pompey conquered Jerusalem in 63 BCE, Julius Caesar granted Jews special privileges around 48 BCE. Those privileges continued through the early empire. Rome wasn't trying to destroy Judaism, they were protecting it. Now let's destroy a Hollywood myth. Romans weren't religious oppressors, right? They considered it pious to honor local gods wherever they went. Adding foreign deities to your worship showed respect, not weakness. The real Roman fear, political organization, not theological difference. Here's the proof. Romans banned volunteer fire brigades. Groups of lower class citizens gathering regularly seemed dangerous, potential conspiracies, potential riots. Yet they tolerated thousands of foreign cults without concern, and this reveals their actual priority, social order, not religious conformity. They feared meetings, not prayers. Jewish privileges under Rome were remarkable. Since Julius Caesar, Jews had special legal status, and they could observe the Sabbath. They had military exemptions. They weren't required to participate in emperor worship. Rome granted these rights because Jews were ancient and their traditions were established. Romans respected antiquity. New religions were suspicious. Old ones were venerable. But here's where it gets complicated. These privileges didn't exist in a vacuum. They created a social hierarchy, and hierarchies generate resentment, not from above, but from below. Alexandria shows us how this worked. The city has 3 tiers. Greeks at the top, full citizenship, higher status. Jews in the middle, special privileges, protected status, Sabbath rights. Native Egyptians at the bottom, lowest status, fewest rights. Think about this from an Egyptian perspective. You're in Egypt, your ancestors built the pyramids, and these Jewish immigrants have more rights than you do. Rights granted by foreign Roman conquerors. The resentment flowed upward. Pogroms against Jews in Alexandria came from Egyptian mobs, not Roman soldiers. The violence came from below, not from above. Rome often had to protect Jews from their neighbors. This reframes the entire narrative. The standard story says Romans persecuted Jews for being different. The actual dynamic was more complex. Romans granted privileges that made Jews targets of local resentment. Syncretism worked for everyone except monotheists who couldn't participate. When your neighbors freely mix and match gods and you refuse to join, you look exclusive, arrogant, like you think your god is better than theirs. Add special legal privileges on top of that refusal, your neighbors notice, they resent it, and when Rome's grip weakens, they act. Here's the core tension. Polytheistic syncretism was inclusive and additive. Your God equals my God under a different name. Everyone's welcome. The more gods, the better. Jewish monotheism was exclusive by definition. Yahweh does not equal Zeus, cannot equal Zeus. There's only one God, and mixing him with others isn't translation, it's blasphemy. These two systems couldn't merge. Jews couldn't participate in the religious diplomacy that kept everyone else at peace. Every time a Greek identified Yahweh with Zeus, they meant respect. Every time a Jew rejected that identification, Greeks heard insult. The ancient world wasn't intolerant of Judaism because it was foreign. Foreign gods were welcome everywhere. The ancient world struggled with Judaism because Judaism couldn't play the syncretism game. Romans tolerated Jewish difference and granted legal protections, but those protections created local resentment, and the Jewish refusal to syncretize, which was theologically necessary, looked like social rejection to everyone else. The conflict wasn't really about religion at all. It was about a monotheistic community that couldn't participate in the social glue that held polytheistic society together. Understanding ancient religion reveals that religious conflict isn't inevitable. For most of human history, adding gods was easy and rejecting them was strange. The Jewish-Roman situation shows something modern, how tolerance for one group can generate resentment from another. Minority protections can create backlash, not because the protections are wrong, but because social hierarchies are complex. Someone always ends up at the bottom, looking up with resentment. When everyone else is mixing and matching gods, refusing to participate looks like an insult. When you have special privileges on top of that refusal, your neighbors notice. The Romans weren't the villains of this story. Neither were the Jews. The real problem was two incompatible systems, one built on inclusion through mixing, one built on exclusion through monotheism, forced to share the same cities.